Good morning. Today we are continuing on with those percentages. Yesterday's objective showed us how to figure out the new, I'm up front. Yesterday's objective showed us how to figure out the new total if there was a sale or a discount. Today's objective, CO34, saying I can use a tax to find the total cost. So yesterday we decreased because it was a sale. Today we're increasing to include tax because we have taxes on things like you go to Target, you don't get taxed on food, you don't get taxed on clothes, but you get taxed on other things, right? You have to pay a sales tax. You go somewhere like Chicago, when I go to visit family in Chicago, there's not side conversations where we're joking around. This is twice now I've had to talk to two separate groups. I am teaching a lesson. We need to be respectful listeners, please. Thank you. When I go to Chicago, we make sure to bring all the clothes we need, because if we have to go out and buy something that we forgot, I have to pay a sales tax on clothes. We're lucky here in Minnesota, we don't have to pay that sales tax, so it's cheaper to buy clothes here in Minnesota than it is in some other states where they charge you a tax on it. So it's important to know what those taxes are and how much you would have to pay if you forget. One time we were in Chicago and one of Mr. Gambino's uncles passed away and we had to go to a funeral and we didn't have funeral clothes with us. So I had to buy funeral clothes for the whole family. That tax on the clothes really added up with what we had to pay. So it's important to know what those taxes are so you know what you have to pay. So we have this objective today and we have tomorrow's objective, and then we're done with this unit. So our plan is Friday we're going to do a retake day. We still have a lot of retakes from the last test. So we have objectives today and tomorrow. Stay after school if you've got a lot of objectives to do, because you're not going to get them all done on Friday in class. There are some of us who have 4 or 5 objectives we still have to do. Plan on staying after on today or tomorrow. Let me know if you're planning on staying after so I know who to prepare for. Friday will be a retake day. Next week, Monday, is review of our unit. Tuesday is the practice test. Wednesday is the real test. Now it's a little bit hard when it's the week before Christmas having to focus on a test, but I'd rather do it next week Wednesday than the week we come back, because then it's a whole month since we learned some of this stuff. Okay, that 2 weeks off is going to throw us if we have to wait until after Christmas. So yep, we're going to have to buckle down and be able to focus next Wednesday for that real test. I need you seriously reviewing through your objectives, making sure you remember it and understand it, and coming to me if you have any questions, okay? Because we don't want to bomb the test next week. We want to show everything that we've been learning. All right, back to CO34, finding the tax. So something many people deal with nearly every day is tax. Why does something on the dollar menu at McDonald's cost more than $1? Tax is a percentage, similar to a discount, but it increases the price rather than decreases. Here are some situations you may have encountered. You buy a picture frame for $5, there is a 10% tax. What is the final price of the picture frame? Or maybe you buy an iPod for $400 and there's a 40% tax. What is the final price of the iPod? Or you buy a plot of land for $550 and there's a 20% tax. What is the final cost of the land? So we need to know how to increase those amounts by the taxes. So just like in CO33, we have 2 different methods. They are very, very similar to what we did yesterday. One major difference. When we decreased yesterday, what was the operation we were doing, Rhoda? subtracting because we were decreasing. Today we are increasing. So instead of doing that subtraction, what do you think we're going to do, Atreya? We're going to be adding. So where we saw us subtracting in these two methods yesterday, we're going to be adding. The rest is the same. So if we look at that picture frame, we know there was a 10% tax on the $5. So our first method, we can find 10% of 5. So we know that's 0.10 of means times 5. So what is that actual tax going to be? What is 10% of 5? You should have your calculators out, just like yesterday. What is 10% of 5? Jackson.
I have 0.5.
Say that louder for me.
0.5.
0.5, which is that 50 cents because we're dealing with money. So we have $5 for our picture frame. There's 50 cents in tax. We have to add them together. So the cost of our picture frame is $5.50. So let's use this method for the iPod. There's a 40% tax on the iPod. So we need to find 40% of that $400 iPod. So 40% is 0.40 of is multiply. What is 40% of 400? Fernanda?
160.
160. So if we started at $400, we need to increase it, add it by that 160, and our final cost would be $560. And our last one with the land, there's a 20% tax on the land that costed $550. So 20% of 550 is what? Remember, in that 20% is 0.20, of is multiply. What would that be? Audrey,
600.
say that again?
600.
What math did you do? Oh, you're doing final. So, do you have your calculator out? Did you use your calculator for this? We want to use that calculator. So do that calculation right there. Much different number. So what is 20% of 550? 110. So this is one of these math objectives. We are not doing mental math. Use your calculator. Even if you think you know what it is, use the calculator to make sure you're doing that math correctly. So now we have our original $550. We're going to increase it by that $110, and we get $660. Any questions on that method? Okay, now we have that second method. Remember, this time we were multiplying and then adding. So in the other method, we are going to add the percentages, then multiply. So just like yesterday, we had that little formula. We have the original amount. The parentheses right next to it means we're multiplying. So we have that 100% plus that percent of the tax increase. So we do parentheses first, and then we're going to do that multiplying. Because remember, if that original is right next to the parentheses, it means we multiply. So let's fill in our numbers for that picture frame. The original amount of the picture frame was $5. Multiply that by 100% plus 10%. 100 plus 10 is 110%, which is 1.10. Because when it's over 100, we have that 1 in the ones place, right? So 1.10. So we want to do 5, times 1.10? What is 5 times 1.10? Presley?
5.5.
5.5, and we know we are dealing with money, so we're going to that hundredth place. So $5.50, we get the same answer. Let's look at our iPod. What is the formula that I'm going to write out? Vinny?
400 times, parentheses, 100%, and 40%.
I think we're missing something in there. What do I do with that 100% and 40%? Add. So, first I do inside the parentheses, so that's 140%, which I know becomes 1.40. That 400 right outside of the parentheses means I multiply. What is 400 times 1.40? Jude,
160.
say it louder for me.
160.
It is not 160. Did you do 400 times 1.4?
Yeah.
Do it again for me real quick. 560 sounds much better. We have to be careful putting our amounts into our calculators, making sure we're putting decimals where they belong, we're putting in those correct numbers. Good way to check ourselves. When Jude said 160, I went, well, that's a lot less than 400. That does not sound like our price increased. So I knew there was a mistake that happened, because when we're increasing prices, our answer should be more than the original price. Okay, so that's your checkpoint you give yourself. Yesterday's lesson with the discount, your final answer should be less. Today we're increasing, so our final answer needs to be more. Okay. Let's look at the land. What is the equation that I should be writing? Rhoda.
550 times, and then in parentheses, 100% plus 20%.
What is 100% plus 20%?
120%.
120%, so how do we write that as a decimal?
1.2.
1.2. We know that 550 is right next to the parentheses, it means multiply. So what is 550 times 1.2? Evelyn?
660.
660. As with our methods from yesterday, you decide which one works for you. You know, oh, I was using the first method yesterday. Use that first method again today. But instead of subtracting, add. If yesterday you said, oh, that second method really worked for me, then use the second method today. Instead of subtracting, we're adding. Okay? Let's look at the 2 on the bottom. I want you to use the method that works for you and see if you can figure it out. And then we're gonna see how we did. So do the calendar for $10. There's a 10% tax not included. So you need to figure out how much that cashier is gonna tell you that you owe. If it's $10 with a 10% sales tax, figure that out. Then it says you pay with a $20 bill. How much is your change? We need to know how much money that cashier should be giving us back, so we get the right amount back. So this is an added step that we had from yesterday. We're finding the new cost, and then we're figuring out if I pay with $20, what is my change? See if you can figure it out. So use one of those methods. What is our new cost? And then figure out what your change should be. Do you have a question or do you have the answer? What's your question?
It says 10% not included.
Yep, so the price tag on the frame is $10. Then you bring it up to the cashier and she's going to, when she puts it into the register, it's gonna include the 10% tax. So the original price does not include the sales tax.
Okay,
So that's why it says tax not included. You're gonna have to pay tax on it. So it starts off as $10, but if you have a $10 bill in your pocket, that is not gonna cover it all, because we also have the sales tax. Do you have a question or the answer? Okay, we're gonna pause just a moment and let our friends catch up. So everybody should be working this out, figuring out what the new cost is. You decide which method you're using. And then figure out what your change will be. All right, who wants to volunteer to work me through how you found your new cost? Vinny?
so first what I did, so I wrote 10, and then parentheses, 100, and then I did 10 again. Oh, we put, we have to put for plus. And then you add that, which, yes,
So, in order to get that decimal, we had to know that these were percentages.
oh, yeah.
We don't want to say 110. We want to know it's 110%, so there's going to be a decimal right there. Okay, then what did you do?
And then I multiplied it by 10.
And what did you get?
I got 11.
Okay, so our new cost was $11. Who did the other way? Haley?
I did 10% of 10, and then 0.10 times 10, which equals 1. And then 1 plus 10 equals 1.
So both ways, we got our $11. So no matter which method you used, you should have gotten $11. Then the next step, everybody had to do the same way. Because to answer our question, how much is your change isn't $11. That's how much the cashier is telling you that you owe. You're paying with that $20 bill. How do we find our change? Audrey?
20 minus 11,
What is 20 minus 11, Audrey?
9.
You should get $9 in change. Work on your second question with the bags of, you have 3 bags of fertilizer for $30 each. 20% tax is added. You pay with a $100 bill. How much is your change? Oh, we're gonna change this, sorry. Instead of saying a 20% tax, there's only gonna be a 10% tax, okay? So change it to be 10% tax. When you found the amount, give me a thumbs up if you found the amount of change that you should get. We're gonna wait another minute to get some more funds to finish up. All right, let's do another check. Give me a thumbs up if you found the answer. There's a few of us still working. Keep working. While you're working, who can do one of the methods for me? Joy.
$30 for the 100% times 20%.
But remember I said switch it from 20% to 10%. Otherwise we end up with a wonky answer that wouldn't make sense. So we're gonna switch that to the 10%. So Joy, if we had 100% plus 10%, which does that turn into? 110%, which is what decimal? What, 110% becomes what decimal? 1.10. So, if you haven't done it yet, Joy, on your calculator, do 30 times 1.10, what do you get? Okay, so, what did Joy miss when she worked this out? Jackson?
You gotta do 100 and minus 33.
No. This is her first step. What big important piece of our information did she miss? If you did 30 times this, what did you miss? Leo? No. Rhoda?
Put your 3 back now.
He purchased 3 bags of fertilizer at $30 each. So if he's purchasing 3 bags, what should we have put here instead of 30? Evelyn? 90. We have to be careful. We don't always just buy one thing. Sometimes we buy more than one thing. And in these problems, there will be ones that you have to pay attention. How much is he buying of each thing? Because that's going to change. Look at all of us erasing. That changes it for so many of us. So Joy, using the $90 times that 1.10, how much is the cashier going to say he owes? Or what is the tax? No, how much does he owe? $99. Okay? Now, using the second method, or the first method, this was the second method. Who used that first method that could walk me through using the correct amount that he's purchasing? Jack.
Alright, so first you, the 10% tax, you turn that to a decimal. And then you multiply by 30. Oh, no, by 90.
Yeah, we're multiplying by 90 because he bought 3 bags. So we're multiplying that by 90, and what did you get?
I got 9.0.
Yeah, so there's a $9 tax. Then what's your second step in that? We found he had a $9 tax, what do we have to do with that?
You add it to 90.
Yeah, that $9 plus 90 gets us what, Jack?
99.
99. So the cashier's saying you owe $99. This is why I had to change that tax. If we were charged 20% tax on $90, we can't pay with a $100 bill. That's why I said change it from 20% to 10%. What is my final step? How much change are you going to have, Jude?
99 minus 10.
We're paying with a $100 bill, Jude. Cashier says you owe me $99. You give a $100 bill. How do I figure out my change? Think about what we did up here. You have to think of how much money am I giving the cashier? Evelyn?
3,100 minus 100.
We're paying with $100, so that's the number we start with. The money we give the cashier. The cashier's taking away what we owe. How much do we get back from that cashier, Michael?
No.
$1. You think, oh, I have $100, I can buy so much. You can only buy 3 bags of fertilizer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you're using that money, what you're paying with goes first. Paid with $100, that's the first number. Subtract out how much you owe, and then you'll see what your change is. Be careful. Always check those word problems for how much you're buying of each item. So that way you know how much you're being charged. Okay? There, you will see that a lot. Pay attention to it. A lot of us fell for that. Any questions on finding that tax? All right, so on the second page, it is very similar to yesterday's objective. That top part is the table, right? You have to find what the final price is for each item, just like yesterday. You can use the space down below, you can use the space to the left, that back side of that's the blank paper. Okay, just like yesterday. Just like I said when we were correcting yesterday, please don't just write in the answer. Show me what calculation you're using. Show your work. Just write out the calculation that you're putting into your calculator. Okay? Then on the bottom, it says you can use these methods outside the realm of taxes and percentages. Are larger, find the new amount, show your work. We're doing the same thing. Something is 80, increase it by 20%. It's the exact same math. He is not giving us word problems for this. On the test, I guarantee you will have a word problem, at least one. Okay, so next week when we take the test, make sure you're paying attention to word problems. How much are you actually buying? There is that review on the bottom. I had somebody come up yesterday and say, I forgot how to do this. Remember, your first thing to do is always look back at that objective. If you still don't remember how to do it, then come up and ask me. But that's why we have all those objectives in there. You can refer back to them. Okay, that's why we do this review, because we forget what we did 2 weeks ago. Okay, so make sure you're looking it up and doing it correctly. Make sure when you're turning something into a fraction that you're giving it simplest form. What is our magic number when working with percentages? Everyone. 100. You go to the 100th place for the decimals. You make those denominators 100 when you're working with those fractions. Okay, 100 is our magic number. When you finish, remember we have Khan Academy due tomorrow night. I have some people who are finished with the Khan, but a lot of us still have some left to do. Yesterday's and today's objectives will really help with those. Make sure you get your Khan done for tomorrow night. Packet number 5 is due on Tuesday, so turn it in to me by Friday and you'll get to fix your mistakes. Video is on my YouTube channel. If you're all done with all of that, you can be studying those works of mercy. We need to have those memorized by next week, Friday. I already have people getting those checked off, so I know you can do it by next Friday. So make sure you're reviewing those. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe.